Hi, my name is Steve Herberman and welcome to my class on single note melody. Playing single note melodies, trying to phrase like a horn might phrase with a single note melody, not supported by chords or anything like that. We may get into a little bit of supporting a melody by octaves or another interval, but for the most part this class is going to be on how to treat a single note melody to give it a vocal-like, horn-like quality. So just a second to talk about setup, because I do think this affects the sound a lot. You heard me mention that I use a wound G string, but they're flat wounds. So strings 4 through 7 in my case are flat wounds, you know, string gauge obviously is going to be a factor. If you use really heavy strings, they're going to be hard to bend. I personally don't really do whole step bends on the third string, but you know, you might do that, especially if you have a wound an unwound third string. You could certainly bend that up a whole step. That's not an issue. Jim Hall used an unwound third. But you know, so in these examples you might hear me doing little half step bends once in a while. I'm not a really big bender because even though that does give help add a vocal quality to it, I feel like I can get around that by little glisses and hammer-ons and things like that, and vibrato, without having to do too much bending. I sort of like to save the bending for special situations. What I'd like to use as a tune starting off would be one that I think everybody would know. Not just a jazz player, but any style of guitarist or musician would know the song "Over the Rainbow" by Harold Arlen. So originally that the key is, I believe, E flat, but that doesn't mean we can't explore some other keys. So right off the bat, I think that most guitarists would probably play it up here. Okay, now with that phrase, the A section basically, I was pretty much staying in 8th position. Now the thing that bothered me about that is I couldn't get the slides that I want, the vocal quality I would have liked out of that. So without actually adding any fills or anything, let me play it again, and we'll look at another way to play it. So I'm in start in 8th position again. I might slide into that note. Now we know that that C note is going to be a lot more soulful on the second string than it is going to be in the first. So that tends to sound kind of plinky, you know, as a lot of guitar, especially pick style guitar, can get kind of, you know, you can hear the pick and the attack. So one of the things is playing with the thumb, like Wes Montgomery. You get that deep, dark sound. You know, you can really soften it up. So maybe let's try to do this again with the thumb. Pretty soft with the thumb. Then with the fingers, what I try to do from a technical standpoint, without getting too much into it, because I have discussed this in great detail in my class, Electric Fingerstyle Guitar, is that I use not just the nail, but the flesh, a combination of flesh and nail. And if you grow your fingernails really long, you might just use nail, like for instance Lenny Breau. Okay, so I'm going to use my thumb now, like Wes Montgomery would. See what that yields. Notice that I got the C on the second string again, just because I think it sounds more soulful there. More of a singing quality there. It's a little bit brighter and twangier up here. And again, I'm using my right hand thumb. Oh. Notice there hasn't been any bends yet. I haven't done any bends, but that's coming. Particularly not a real bender. I have a wound G string, for instance, and the strings are, not real heavy, but on the heavier side, and that can be a little bit difficult to do. But I definitely bend on the top two strings a lot. Sometimes on the G string, third string. And even if you're just gonna, not really a bend, even just give it a little bit of vibrato. Just shake it a little bit, right? Now what I did there was I stayed on one string more to give it more of an even tone. So that's another consideration, is instead of going from string to string because they each can have a different timbre, is to stay on one string. Now obviously with a melody like this, you're not going to be going, is playing the E flat here and then the E flat there. Maybe that's not that practical, but you can certainly do it for maybe stay on the third here. So you're getting the slides and things. There's definitely, a piano can't do that exactly. So the guitar has a lot of advantages over the piano, just in case you're bummed out with how much more the piano can do than the guitar. But what I like to do is use a combination of flesh and nail, and I outline that in my class called Electric Fingerstyle Guitar. So I'm not going to go into great detail, but I just wanted to mention that that's what I'm doing here, is using my fingers, and then I'll pick up a pick as well. So we got of course, you could be doing fills and so forth as well. Now, with a pick, it's going to sound a little bit brighter most of the time, but you can use that to your advantage. But before I get into the pick, I do want to mention that I am picking either with my thumb or fingers right over this front pickup here. I don't like to pick far back because it gives me a brighter sound. Now that might be appropriate for certain things, certain passages on this. Maybe when you go to the bridge, you could change the picking and get brighter and try something like this. It's a little bit brighter back here than so, right, the slides. Maybe octaves, which you got to go to your thumb for octaves, right? With a pick, it's going to sound brighter. maybe double stops, which I did there. Now you can also let notes ring together on the guitar, which you can't do on single note instruments, but that can be pretty nice, let's say for the bridge. Switching techniques around. What if you did it down here? Darker. So embellishing a little bit more right there, right? Instead of having to play these two notes on two different strings, getting the different timbre, if you did it on the same string, you can get slides or hammer-ons. Same string. Make sure that you can transpose the tune into different keys. Force yourself to staying on one string as much as possible to get an evenness of tone, and you can get slides and glisses and things like that. Also, try doing the opposite of that, which is playing more in position and crossing over to different strings. It's just important to be able to know the melody well enough to do that. So again, in the next class, what we'll focus on is intervals below a melody, and so maybe I'll just kind of play you out with that idea as sort of a preview for the next class, okay? Although we'll be using a different tune, I'm sure. Thanks for checking out this class, and I hope you enjoyed it and got some useful things out of it, and I hope that you'll check out the next part as well.